Musical Talk, the independent musical theatre podcast at the Edinburgh Fringe. Hello and welcome to Musical Talk. I'm Thos and not to be mistaken with my good friend Edinburgh Fringe, who's a man who should probably give you some idea of what this episode's going to be about. Yes, it's that time again. It's the largest arts festival in the world. It's the Edinburgh Fringe 2012. What a year it is for culture and sport in this country. We have the Olympics, but we also have had the Cultural Olympiad, and now we have the Edinburgh Festival and the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. Now, what's going to happen over the next few weeks is actually slightly different to usual. What you're going to get today, ladies and gentlemen, is a preview programme for Edinburgh this year. What you're going to hear are songs and interviews with the creatives behind three very different but very excellent musicals, which you'll be able to see at this year's Fringe. But in the next 2 weeks, we're going to have some completely non-Edinburgh programmes. Next week, we'll be hearing from the wonderful Keith Arrowsmith about London Road, the verbatim musical at the National Theatre. Keith has recently interviewed some of the creatives behind that for a fascinating conversation, and you can hear that next week. The week after that, our very own Nick Hudson is talking to Neil Patrick Harris, who's, of course, a big Broadway musical star currently in this country. So that's an interview that I'm sure everyone will want to hear. But then after that, it's the traditional series of programmes looking at and then looking back at the Edinburgh Fringe 2012. So today, if you like, is an overture. You'll get to hear something of what's going on up in Scotland, and then, in the next 2 weeks, what's back on in London, and then in a few weeks' time, we'll be starting our annual series of in-depth interviews with the people behind so many of the wonderful musical shows that you can see at the Edinburgh Fringe every year. It is really a hotbed of creativity, and a hotbed of creativity in our sphere, musical theatre. Anyway, well, let's not drag this on any longer than we need to. We've got a lot of things to get through, so let's go straight to our first show, Bereavement, the musical. Now, stick in there with that title. It's all going to be explained, and it may not be quite what you think it is. And I'm delighted to say that the people behind that show have said that we can play 2 songs. So to introduce this interview, let's hear one of the songs from Bereavement, the musical. Musical Talk at the Edinburgh Fringe.
It's a funny little cabaret we go through. The stage is open and the players are in full view. There's a part for you and you will have to play it. The script is written, it's just words, you've got to say it. And oh, don't think it's not strange. Death will bring you change. You've got another thing coming. And oh, don't think you'll be saved once it's been engraved. You've got another thing coming. So bring the lights up and act nothing less than certain, because bereavement never brings the final curtain. It was easy when we looked for a conclusion. Make it easy, never shatter the illusion. Take your bow, face the music now. We've got another thing coming. crazy just to see what we have come to.
There's a part for you and you will have to play it.
It's bereavement and we've just got to obey it. And oh, you'll learn all the blues. Nobody improves. You gotta know the thing from me. And oh, come and face your crowd. Do the theatre proud. You've got another thing from me.
It's a funny little cabaret we go through.
It's a funny little cabaret, it stars you.
It's a funny little cabaret to stay true.
Funny little cabaret.
Hi, I'm Jeff Carpenter. I'm the composer for Bereavement the musical.
Hi, I'm Maureen O'Hagan and I co-wrote Bereavement the musical.
Now, people are first immediately going to say, Bereavement, the musical. And they'll probably use that inflection, I'd have thought. Because that's an unusual name for, well, any show, but certainly a musical. So, the obvious question is, why Bereavement, the musical?
Right, well, I personally think that there are two bizarre things in life, things that you can't
You
explain.
want to look harder, there's many more than two.
Well, the things that which absolutely bowl you over. One of them is bereavement, and the other one is musical theatre. I think that they're both zany, and I think that actually one of the main ways you can convey bereavement and the ridiculousness of it is through musical theatre. The tagline for the show is bereavement is a song and a dance. Watch people singing and dancing about it. So I think that, Maureen, do you want to go on a bit?
Well, Jeff and I both lost parents in our teens, and it was interesting when we began to talk about that, because we were kind of recognising, you know, similar experiences in one another, and some things that we just hadn't experienced the same at all. But I think one thing we were struck by is that when you're suddenly kind of bereaved, there's a kind of bizarre spotlight put on you, and that you're this bereaved person, and particularly when you're at school, I think, you know, people are watching you, seeing how you're coping, and you're kind of not really sure how you are meant to act. You know, are you sort of meant to just know what to do when you're bereaved? And I think that kind of that's funny spotlight on you worked well for this kind of slightly cabaret
That's right,
style
yeah,
piece.
yeah.
I mean, that's very interesting, because you first described it as zany, but it seems to be, but just to explore that a little bit, you seem to be sort of saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in fact it's just that the strangeness of normal life stopping suddenly, and then you're becoming a focus, and then there's all these forms which are essentially Victorian still. So you're quite right in the sense that it's a very unnatural thing
It's
that we
unnatural.
do in response to a sadly horribly natural thing that has happened.
People want to watch you to, you know, to kind of see how you're dealing with it, how you're acting under the circumstances, but don't really know how to talk to you. And that may be more of a generational thing, because, you know, when we were in our teens, you know, very few people at school or, you know, in our social circles knew anything about that. So we kind of felt that I suppose we felt like we actually had something to say, which you might not at this age. And also that maybe, you know, other people might recognise some of the things that we observed. We tried to get other people's experiences involved as well.
Of course.
Or that maybe, you know, just talking about some of the things that we thought maybe you didn't expect to find coming with bereavement. You know, some of it's quite comic, really, in retrospect.
Yes.
Some of the reactions we've had, or...
With a cold, calm eye, I can see that, yes, it just seems a very strange time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, forgive me, and what I don't want to do is intrude on your family circumstances. I'm not going to ask that question, but you have mentioned several times being so young, which, of course, is an extra level of unusualness. Is it rude to ask whether these bereavements were recent? I mean, you said you're a teenager, but you're both so beautifully young.
Well, we're in our 20s now.
So you have got enough distance, and this isn't going to hurt you either.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
People are going to say, gosh, you know, it feels a bit... interesting adjective. It feels as if it could be a piss take, but in fact there's a message, is it not? Or at least an exploration.
I would like to say that it's not angsty and that it's not a piss take.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's I hope, you know, that it's kind of fairly reverent, but also kind of with a self-knowing laugh.
But the best way to describe it really is my mum died when I was 15 and I'm now 21, so, you know, there's been a lot of distance between it. There's no way that I would have even considered really writing a diary about it at the time because it's just so upsetting and it really like blows you over. But when you look back on it, there are some things which I did which I found I can laugh at, and there are other things which I do which I think people wouldn't necessarily know that's what happens when you're bereaved. And also, especially talking to other people, a classic one is the fact that a lot of people have the experience where they really want to laugh at the funeral, but they just absolutely feel that they cannot do that. That's a classic one. I suppose just imagine that, but sort of for ages. There's quite a lot actually which people just do not know about bereavement. So that's been the inspiration for me.
There's a lot of what are you meant to do? Am I? Are you allowed to go to the theatre, when you're sort of grieving or whatever?
What's expected of one?
Yeah, it does really feel, I think, like suddenly there's a lot of attention on you, and maybe not, helpful attention.
It's also one of the few areas in society left, I think, in the social society, that are very strictly trammelled. You're quite right. Whereas not quite anything goes, but morality is very much more relaxed and relative in almost all spheres of modern life. We don't live like our parents, let alone our grandparents, and yet I bet we are expected to do all the same things during a period of bereavement and a funeral that our parents and grandparents and great grandparents before then will have done. So you're right. So it's an immediate throwback to a way of reacting that people find there are expectations. And they're not new expectations.
That's right.
There are, but also I think I felt maybe we didn't explore this, but if I kind of knew what the rules were of how I was meant to behave, just in the kind of, at least in the week after my father died, that could have been quite useful, because you're suddenly, you don't know what you're doing.
Well, the fact is, no one knows anything about bereavement, and that's basically the moral of the show.
Well, let us bring it onto the show. Forgive me, I did want to explore the sort of the feelings and the theory behind it, because forgive me, with a title like that, you are inviting people to say, God, this is a little out of the ordinary. So you had this discussion. You thought, well, this is an area that's ripe for exploration, and it probably hasn't been explored very thoroughly in musical theatre before. When did you decide that it should be a musical?
Well, last summer, all in Edinburgh actually.
Very sensible place to start.
We were talking about these experiences and it being a musical right from the start.
Absolutely. I wrote a couple of songs which were about bereavement, and then my experiences, and I thought, well, could this work as a musical? And so that's when me and Maureen started talking about it.
And I think the focus was always the theme. We didn't want a kind of a plot-driven narrative where some really angsty death scene happens and people cry a lot. We wanted to kind of start with kind of bereavement as the theme. This is why it's kind of so simply named, and kind of have that as the centre and have different ways into it.
You said cabaret earlier as well, which is sort of...
I'd say it's a cabaret style or cabaret influenced musical review following 6 characters specifically through who are all very, very different ages, different personalities, different circumstances of bereavement, and their own journey through it.
And they interlink and interact?
A little bit, not too much, because we thought it would maybe be a bit too cheesy if they all got paired up at the end, but there is a little bit.
Fair enough, yes. That's good. I do try to have interactions with people that don't necessarily involve me getting married. In fact, most of them, in fairness, as my milkman would be very pleased, I should imagine. So, right, you've established that it was going to be a musical. Did you both know that you could both write songs?
Well,
that noise needs exploring.
I'm not sure I want to confess it. I did write a musical myself, ages ago, before my father died, which I also wrote music for, and I think it should be forgotten.
But you both had some experience of writing songs.
Yeah, I've been writing songs since I was quite young, and so I love music, and so that's my main sort of thing. But
Jeff is the musical brain. I'd written kind of comedy before, but not really songs. So that was a new thing, but I quite like it.
There's no way I would have written it by myself, and the fact that Maureen and I both had similar experiences, and also I think it helps that I'm a boy, Maureen's a girl, so I think that helps as well.
All human life is there, frankly, isn't it? So you've got together, you've decided you're all going to put on this musical, you've got a sort of rough idea that it's going to be a number of characters. How did you sort of sketch out those characters and then put flesh on the bone? And how did it, when did you know that you actually had a viable piece, that it had legs?
It was all very... I mean, we thought it would be a good fringe piece.
Yes.
Obviously,
I wouldn't go straight to the West End with this.
Yeah, my mum's hoping that it will go to Broadway, but she doesn't really,
It might go
she
to
doesn't really
Broadmoor.
know much. Exactly, she doesn't know very much about musical theatre, and it's probably not the right style. But we thought, kind of an hour-long fringe piece would be great. And then sort of last year, Jeff suddenly said to me, "Oh, there's a deadline coming. We could get some funding to do previews in Cambridge." And it was really last minute, and I almost hope we didn't get it because we hadn't thought about it. But suddenly we had funding. Suddenly we had a slot, and it all just kind of snowballed. And then, and that's a great thing about Cambridge is, you have to try and apply for things because you might not get them. But then if you do, then you're stuck, and you suddenly have to write a show.
Yes, once the infrastructure's in place, you would look foolish if you didn't come up with the cherry on the top of your bankroll. Yes.
Because it's advertised, and you just have to go for it. And so that was probably quite useful for us.
Yeah, definitely. I think by the time it came to that, we knew it was going to be 6 people. We knew what these songs were going to be about. We knew all of the themes that we wanted to cover, all of that. So that was all in place. Actual songs, we probably still only had the 2 that I'd written, but so many of the ideas were there and ready to go. We just wanted an excuse to do it, and it's going to be. I think it's an ideal place to do it, the Edinburgh Fringe. I can't wait. And
it was something. Yeah, I guess because it was something that we felt was maybe a bit risky, because yes, it does sound kind of irreverent as a title, and I think we had to be quite brave to go, yeah, we actually kind of feel something for what we're writing.
Definitely.
It was probably quite good to kind of be pushed out of our comfort zone and to just have to do it, and that other people sort of had faith in us when we applied, and otherwise we might not have had the guts to do it.
So can you describe the tone of the piece in one word, or would you say that actually it varies? Because I noticed you said
it varies. Yeah, bittersweet.
That's a hyphenated word.
I'll accept melancholy. That's fine.
Well,
but it's not. So it's bittersweet. That's fine.
It's bittersweet because it's me and Maureen looking back at our experiences and sharing experiences with others, and looking at, because the reason that you go through these things is always sad, but some of the things which you do are funny. So what ends up being the thing which most people have said to us is that it's very honest, and that a lot of theatre nowadays, or isn't always honest. It's more about sort of being commercial somehow, and
being glib and giving you a lot of received wisdom rather than actually allowing you to find it yourself.
That's right.
I would agree with that entirely.
I think the whole point with this is that the received wisdom, if you like, about bereavement doesn't really exist. So this is actually, our experiences in song and dance. So, it's quite honest.
I guess it was a first for us, to be writing something that I guess we felt from ourselves, rather than, what kind of play could we write, or,
Sure.
We weren't putting something on for the sake of it. And I think we thought originally that it would be mostly comic, and then inevitably I think it ended up being a bit more poignant than we had intended, because you can't kind of escape its origins. But then equally there were bits that were quite that the audiences and the previews laughed at, which we hadn't intended to be funny at all, and maybe we were sometimes blunter than people expect, because actually to say someone's my dad's dead is normal for us, and for other people that's quite a blunt way of saying it. So
it's not your conversational opening gambit on many an occasion,
no.
is it? Yes.
No.
Now past the sort. Yes.
But it's that awkward moment, I guess, when someone says, "Oh, what does your father do?" and you go, "Well, he's dead." You kind of kill a conversation with that.
Sure. Oh yeah.
There's not a lot of way around it. So now we're going to sing about it instead, make it really awkward.
Well, here's a question then, because I'm very interested in this idea of the tone as well, because you said there are 6 characters and they've each got a sort of theme that their story presumably represents. But you also said there was a range of feelings. There's poignancy, there's a certain amount of comedy, the melancholia, the bittersweet nature of it all. Did you look at these 6 themes on a piece of paper, and when did you know to be counterintuitive with the comedy, and when did you know to be true to the?
I'm not sure I would even be able to say what the themes were.
There's situations,
themes, but
which are usually exaggerated versions with exaggerated outcomes of things that Maureen and I experienced or other people we know experienced.
Yeah, we did talk to other people. It's not just an autobiography.
No.
But
Well, it's 6 people, so
yeah, I
that
don't.
would be difficult.
I think it differed for me from writing comedy, because there you're kind of constantly asking, is that funny? Is that funny? This we didn't do at all. I mean, we never had to ask, is it funny? And I've kind of done rewrites because we're sort of, you know, changing it a bit to take it to Edinburgh. And I thought, oh, maybe I should make this funnier, but nothing. But then I just left that, because everything that's funny is just kind of, you know, happened that way.
For me and for Maureen, we'd rather forsake a bit of comedy in order to make it truthful, really,
Yes.
in order to make it actually accurate about how we feel.
And you said honest, which I think is such an interesting word in this context.
It's
particularly.
what people have said when we previewed it at Cambridge.
And I guess it is, because again, I mean, for a long time we didn't know how it would turn out on stage. We didn't have a format. We couldn't, you know, visualize it at all. It was something. It didn't have a model. So I guess we just had to be honest, you know, and say what we thought. And I mean, it's funny. It kind of. Do we want to talk about reviews? It got some great reviews, and
This is in previews.
Yeah. And one that wasn't so great, but it then got a huge audience response in Cambridge, which really surprised me, because I do like to sort of try and keep my head down a bit more.
It is strange, because when we previewed it, it started selling out and it was getting standing ovations. So, you know, which we...
Yes.
To be honest, never
We're
really
very surprised.
expected.
We just thought it would be a bit embarrassing that we'd expose ourselves, and that would be that we'd go home.
But people, I think, well, if people loved it, it was probably because they loved the fact that we had been honest and we had told them about something maybe they didn't know about.
That's what I was getting to. Some people,
Yeah.
I think, felt it kind of sort of resonated and felt it to be quite truthful.
Yeah.
And, you know, some people said that they thought it wasn't truthful at all, and we kind of
really?
thought, well, you know, fine, maybe
their
not for you,
experience, yeah.
but I guess we were just, you know, saying what happened for
Yeah.
us. So that is as truthful as you can get. I mean, its intentions were truthful.
So this is your first time in collaboration, certainly with each other.
Yeah.
That's right.
How does songwriting work for you two then, as a writing partnership?
Well, most of the ideas came from us just sitting around for a couple of days at Jeff's college, talking about ideas. So we'd got ideas pretty fully formed, and we'd got phrases that we'd written together, and some of the things, you know, I remember saying something quite shocking and you going, yeah, write that down, and you know, so we kind of generated the ideas together, and then sort of went separate ways over the holidays.
And so you wrote the songs separately, did you? Oh, but you wrote the music, so...
Yeah.
But the lyrics were a joint effort here and there, or...?
Yeah.
That's right. Well, the lyrics were absolutely... We were coming up with them, like Maureen was saying, together from the very beginning. And then from that point on, we sort of decided to split up the work and take it, and then we would do rewrites together. So that was...
So you went away and
Jeff-
came back, and went away and came back in different combinations?
Well,
That's
we had
right.
the holidays,
Yes.
and so Jeff would kind of send me lyrics that I'd edit, and vice versa.
Yeah, and then same with dialogue. We felt we needed some dialogue, and then obviously I had to write the music by myself. So
And it worked quite well in that I don't really like kind of starting from nothing and having a blank page, but Jeff's quite good at going, I'm going to put these words down, and then I go,
See
no,
everything.
change this, and that worked quite well, because I
Yeah.
quite like editing. Jeff doesn't.
I hate it.
Yeah, and I don't like starting from scratch.
Oh, right, so...
It gets me scared.
So that
an originator and a dramaturg. Is there a way?
Well,
maybe,
that sounds like I don't know. But, you know,
in terms of
I
the
like talking about it first, and then you've got something to go from.
I did want to say as well as the on the lines of dramaturg, we got our great friend Andy to direct it, and Andy and I did this.
Do you want to give us a surname?
Oh, sorry, Andy Brock,
Lovely.
or Andrew Brock, I should say.
Andrew David
So,
Brock.
Lord Brock. Yes.
He
Andrew Brock did not want to be involved at first, because he wanted
didn't.
us to write something serious about bereavement and our experiences, and he hated the title, but he's come round. And
He's
been
come round
great.
to it.
He wasn't prepared to die in a ditch over it, that's it.
Yeah, but he's
No, he's been really useful.
Yeah,
and
somehow
really involved.
we managed to persuade him. He the way I'd say it maybe is I sort of directed the songs, but Andy directed the show, and it was
So you're musical director in a sense, I guess.
yes, and then and I'm also playing the piano for the run in Edinburgh, and
Which is something to watch. I watching Jeff on stage the whole show. It's really incredible.
But about Andy, and he's you know, we would sort of give him this, if you like, list of songs and maybe a bit of dialogue, and he would know how to structure it, how to direct it, how to get across the cabaret feel, but without sort of ramming it down people's throats. He's just been such a force in terms of, I would say, even in the writing process, because it's about getting the words and the songs to resonate properly the way that they should do when they come off the page. So he's just been absolutely great throughout the whole creative process as well.
How would you describe your music? I mean, once again, one doesn't want to sort of pigeonhole people, but, you know, are you rocky? Are you folky? Are you musical theatre history heritage? What are you?
Well,
I did jazz hand, by the way.
Jazz hands.
Just the one jazz hand. I don't want to get too exotic.
Well, this musically, I'd say this is it's like all bits of musical theatre from all over the place, from the kind of the 30s, but definitely from musical theatre. Like, it's almost a parody of musical theatre styles in some places. There's sort of Kandron Ebb, Schwartz, you know, some epic stuff, like just mad, just all some opera.
You said some 30s. Who's your 30s?
Homage. Oh, I see what you say. Well, I'm just trying to think of that whole, I mean, this would be 50s, but Irving Berlin, you know, like the whole kind of, that whole sort of golden age musical sound of American. And it's all just been rammed into the thing. It's solo piano. We've got a live, we've got a real piano on stage, which is I'm obsessed with, and it's just piano and the singing.
And I guess that kind of, that mix can be linked to this idea that you're kind of just thrown into this spotlight and you're suddenly kind of meant to know how to act, and you kind of snatch at these styles and see how you know what you can do with it.
That's why it's got quite a pastiche feel, because almost when the people are put into these situations that they don't understand, or they feel that they're being expected to act in a certain way, it makes sense that it would be a sort of pastiche.
And you know, kind of, I guess grief is portrayed all over the stage, you know, and actually bereavement is a kind of long, straggly process that goes on for ages,
and it doesn't actually finish.
Ups and downs, and we were just saying a moment ago that I guess, you know, it maybe took kind of 3 years, I think, to feel ready to talk about things properly. But I mean, you're never kind of going to go, okay, I'm fine about that now. I don't, you know, miss them or whatever.
And people might expect you to sort of go through a year process, which you can pinpoint. You can't.
It's not like giving up cigarettes or something like that, presumably.
Actually, maybe it is similar. I don't smoke, but maybe it is, in the sense that I don't know if anyone can ever say, I've quit cigarettes. I've stopped smoking. I don't know if you can say I've quit, you know, so maybe it's similar.
I see, it's like a radioactive half-life. It never quite goes away.
Maybe, yeah.
Interesting
idea for a musical.
And it flares up at funny times.
Yeah. Oh, so it is like addiction in a strange way then, but, you know, forgive me, it comes back when you least expect it, perhaps.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, we were asked if it was a cathartic process for us, and at the time I don't think we did. But maybe looking back, you know, maybe it has.
When people were asking us at the time, you know, is this like your way of therapy? Maybe it is, because when I look back at it now, you know, it's almost like I'm hearing the words for the first time some of the time. It's bizarre, actually.
I don't think it felt like therapy, kind of the process of going through it, but it does feel kind of. It feels good to kind of have used something bad in a way that could, you know, maybe be communicating with other people. I don't want to suggest that it will necessarily, but, you know, at least we're kind of trying.
It sounds like it's honest to you as the creators, as well as to the audience.
Well, we wouldn't be happy about doing anything that was not, would we? So obviously,
when it touches something kind of quite personal, you wouldn't want to be hackneyed about it. But I think the moment that did kind of move me was the opening night, and, you know, I used to talk to my dad about going into theatre, and he was quite encouraging, and he's got no idea what I'm doing now, but I remember sort of thinking at the opening night, he'd be really pleased, he'd be thrilled to see that I'm doing this, he'd be thrilled probably that we're doing something that we kind of meant, and, you know, it's not a tribute or anything like that, but he'd probably, you know, wouldn't mind having a small part in the process.
Well, in some ways, I mean, forgive me, without being crude or vulgar, but that is exactly. You wouldn't have written it without the circumstances. Yeah. Is it rude to ask how your other parents have found it when you told them you were doing it? You said your mother wants to go to Broadway, which I take to be a thumbs up.
Yeah, I think she's suddenly. Yeah.
Would you care to invest?
No.
my dad's been very supportive and has also helped me through the writing process.
That's fantastic. Now let's talk about...
One thing my mother said, my parents were divorced already, so extra complication, but my mum came to see it, and she's a GP, and there were moments where I was kind of sinking down in my seat, sitting next to her thinking, I can't believe my mum's watching this, it's so embarrassing. And my mum came out, and some bits are slightly rude, whatever.
Outrageous.
Yeah, and I thought, oh, what's she going to say? And she went, Maureen, this is her GP kind of voice, I think that's the kind of thing a lot of my patients would like to have seen. She thought it had a kind of medical value.
Right.
So.
Also,
that was interesting.
Also, there's the theological college in Cambridge. Loads of those folks came to see it, and they loved it.
Really?
They loved it. And because I study theology, and there's a little bit of religion in it. It's by no means evangelical. It's just exploring religious issues.
That's so often wrapped up into the process.
Exactly.
Yeah, and often people kind of really push against religion or kind of turn to it in bereavement, so those kind of different responses.
So if you're a priest or a doctor, come and watch it. Yeah.
I was interested to say that presumably a doctor wouldn't expect a sequel, but perhaps your friends who are off to be doctors of divinity might.
It can be very helpful, I think, for doctors also to know about grief, which is why maybe your mum...
My mum said that, I don't want to spoil some of the secrets, but that people have asked about similar things and...
Let's talk about Edinburgh itself then. So where are you booked and how can people see you? This is always an important thing to say.
We are in C Venues, and it's at 6:40, which is a nice
This
evening.
is the big C venue in Chamber Street.
Mm-hmm.
That's right,
We've been given a really big audience, bigger than we were kind of...
Audience or auditorium? The audience have yet to prove themselves, haven't they?
We've been given lots of seats, which we kind of weren't expecting, so we would very much like to fill them because,
C is one of the musical silos, isn't it? So it's one of the places to go to see musical theatre.
Absolutely.
And it's a good
I hover
time.
around there quite a lot.
It's a good time.
It's a good time. You
Remind
won't
us the time again?
6:40.
And you can go out afterwards.
And obviously, if you want to book tickets, it's on the Ed Fringe website, and also bereavementthemusical.co.uk, and you can listen to
at C venues.
Sorry,
you can also do walk up at C venues.
Yes, you certainly can.
On the ground floor.
Buy us on the day.
And there's something on Twitter. I don't know how Twitter works, but clever people are sorting
we're
that out.
I think we're just at Bereavement 2012, I believe.
Yeah.
But it's all our Twitter feed's on the website bereavementthemusical.co.uk.
Let's say that again for posterity.
Bereavementthemusical.co.uk.
Just making sure that people can write that down. That's very
It's quite easy because it's a musical and it's about bereavement. The title is simple.
Does what it says on the tin, in fact. So people can see it at the C venues all the way through the Fringe, which is an amazing run and difficult on your fingers. But before we sort of finish on this, and what are for you personally, if you like, what's the thing that you'll take from the creation of this musical? One each, you may confirm, or phone a friend.
I'm really glad. I've done lots of, theatre. I've sort of organised things, acted, written, and you spend all your time pushing theatre on people. And I'm really glad that I've done something which I did for a real reason, not just for another show, and that. I kind of think the point of most things is to communicate with other human beings, and I'm glad that I've done something that I feel like, that I can try and do that with.
Does that with truth?
Yeah.
From truth? Yes.
Well, yeah, it's definitely from a true feeling myself and with death, and
That's excellent.
I hope that kind of resonates.
Sure, yeah. Well, for me, it's pushed me in some new ways, because I think it's still I've done some other songs which are a bit more sort of silly, which includes this, but this has also had an extra element. So directing this and writing the songs was pushing for me, which was great, and I'm proud of myself that I could have done that. I was just delighted by the fact that people seem to love it so much. So for me that means that, well, what I set out to do is I just felt that bereavement and musical theatre would go together and would tell people something and give them an entertaining show, and it seems to have done that. So I'm very proud of that as well, and I'm just very excited about taking it to the Fringe.
The preview audiences were interesting because, normally if you come out of a production you've been in or whatever, no one's going to say to your face that was rubbish. Most people say,
Sure.
Well done, you were great, whatever. But
And then say it to everyone else.
yeah, but people in the previews were coming out and saying that really moved me for this reason. Not everyone felt that, but those people, I'm really glad that if anyone's got something remotely similar, that it might appeal to
You're making a
them.
real connection to real people.
I guess so. Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
If a few people find it soothing or whatever, or
Yeah.
entertaining or lifts their spirits, then that's really nice.
It is. It's a wacky show. I think it's potentially the wackiest thing I've ever done, and Andy's ever done. It's probably even more wacky than the show we did last year. So yeah, that I'm very proud of that too.
Well, there you have it. Bereavement the musical is wacky and zany, but truthful and honest. Plus, bittersweet.
Yeah,
There,
come
well,
and see it.
And bring a tick sheet and say, "Oh, I've done that one. I've done that one. Oh, now I've done that one." No, thank you very much. It's been delightful to hear from you. I shall see it in Edinburgh, and perhaps I shall speak to you or your colleagues again. I'll let you know how truthful I find it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Musical talk.
What are you thinking about her now?
Well, this is what I've been trying to tell
Can
you.
I get you anything?
No, it's fine.
Glass of wine?
No, it's fine.
I just want to give you a hug.
Honestly, there's no need. You don't need to. It's fine. She's not always on my mind. I don't always hold her memory. She's not always running through me, always in my thoughts. She's not always standing by. I don't always see her face. I don't always have her picture. She's not always on my mind. Luckily, unluckily, life goes on, and life is life. Stuff happens. You can't stay too long in sorrow. Without her, there's still tomorrow. When I think of her, when I do, yes, I'm blue. I do want to, but she's not always by my side. It's not always where I want to be. I might not remember clearly or remember all. I don't always need her there. Like before, I need her sometimes. Though there's no more time together, she's a part of me forever. Even now it's different weather. She's not always on my mind. And I think she'd think that's fine.
I hope you enjoyed that interview about Bereavement the musical, and indeed the two songs before and afterwards. It's always lovely to hear songs from the scores of these new musicals. And if you go to www.bereavementthemusical.co.uk, you can see a lot more about that show. And of course it's also on the Edinburgh Fringe website, known as Ed Fringe. But that's not the only musical we're going to be discussing today, because I also had the pleasure of meeting with Tom Gyron Towers, and forgive me if I've mispronounced that, and Grant Martin, the people behind Newland the musical, also on at the Fringe. Let's hear a bit about that show. Musical talk.
Well, my name's Grant. I'm the musical director and the composer of Newland. My name's Tom, and I'm the writer and director of the show.
Now, Newland?
Yeah.
Or is it Newland the musical?
No. See, we for Edinburgh, we've called it Newland the Musical. It's officially called Newland, but I think we just wanted to make it clear to everyone it's Newland the Musical.
Branded
yeah.
as musical theatre.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much happening up there. I think it's just very easy to quickly identify that we are a musical.
Yeah.
And you've not put an exclamation mark on, which I applaud you for.
Oh, what, the musical?
Yes.
Yeah. Didn't think it needed it.
Understated. That's the way forward.
Slip it in and let them notice it for its quality. Now, I'm going to ask you in a minute about sort of how it came about and the process, but actually, can you give us a briefly between you, and it'd be interesting to see if you can describe it, a thumbnail sketch of what Newland is. Nice sound.
Do you want to take this one?
It's based during the Californian Gold Rush in the late 1800s, and it's about a town that's doing incredibly well called Ashfall. It's thriving. It's got this great sheriff, and then there's trouble and backstabbing, and
he's betrayed by his deputy, who teams up with local villains to become top dog and rid the lawman, who is revered, and he is forced on the run. And whilst on the run, he stumbles upon the town of Newland, which is founded by a couple of comical brothers, and basically they say to him, "We will offer you a place to lay low if you can give us some wisdom and help us promote our town."
Yeah.
And so a relationship develops there, and the town thrives. And then we have a love triangle that's thrown in the mix on top of that.
Yeah. And then he has to make a decision about.
There's a horse. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he makes a decision on whether he's to go back and seek revenge, or
does he stay and love and find a new life?
Yeah.
So the way you're describing it, I'm guessing the tone is serious and not a comedy.
It's a dramatic comedy.
Oh, dramatic comedy.
The thing is, I think it's
hedging your bets. Sorry, forgive me.
No, there is a lot of comedy in it. I think
there's
when we first started putting on the show, we kind of. We didn't want it to seem like it was paint your wagon.
No, it's not. As soon as anybody says a Western musical, it's yeehaw, thigh slapping, Oklahoma, paint your wagon.
Over the top.
Yeah, and we didn't want to paint Newland as that. So originally, when we did the first poster was black and white, and we said it's a bit like Deadwoods, and that really got the wrong vibe, I think, completely, because it's not that, and people were shouting expletives like, "Oh, is that what it's about?" like that, and saying, can't want to say the word, but. And then we kind of lightened it up, like the poster and everything, and how we presented it, because we realised it's not what people were expecting from the poster. We went so much in the wrong direction, but the other direction of how we were trying to sell the show, and it should have. I think we were so worried about people going, "Oh, it's going to be yeehaw," and all that kind of, and it's not that at all.
So it has a serious heart, presumably.
Yes,
I think the relationships are true.
Yeah.
The story, the characters is all very, very quite serious, and the comedy then stems from there. And I think that's what good comedy comes from. It's true characters and a true story.
So do I, as it happens. So basically, it's real life, and real life, of course, is amusing and quirky and funny, as well as difficult and
I think
unnecessarily complicated on some occasions. That's fine. So, right, okay, next question then. I'm going to ask you, and forgive me, it follows very closely on from that last one. One each. One adjective, please, to describe the tone as far as you see it. Just so we can pitch it.
It is fun.
That's energetic.
That's a good one.
It's fast.
Energetic fun.
It's
fun
very
and
fast
energetic.
paced.
Yeah.
It moves along at a speed, and I think the audience are dragged along, and
more so for Edinburgh.
Seriously, it's a 2.5 hour show that's condensed into an hour and a half slot. So really punching through the story.
Yeah. So, well, let us move on from that. I may come and revisit that question
I'm
again
gonna
a little bit later.
thinking that in my head.
Keep the back cog whirring on that one.
Yeah.
How did Newland come about?
We've been writing songs together for quite a while, just writing music, and we originally, when we first started writing together, we were going to write some musical. This is like when we were 12 years old.
Start when you can.
And we were going to write some musical.
We both come from a background in
drama. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. Not necessarily musical drama then, but
it was. Yeah, it kind of was. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Kind of the youth kind of course.
So being in it
schools.
yourself, not just that your parents or family were.
We were in it. We did all the classes.
Did loads of like amateur shows and stuff when we were younger, and belonged to like a youth agency and stuff like that.
And is that how you met?
Yes. Yeah, through that. So we started writing this other musical, and then we went. we were,
No names, no pack drill. Jolly good.
No, I'd rather not. Oh,
Yeah,
we
no, it's fine.
might revisit that, but just not yet. And then we started just writing music because we realised actually we could both take a piano and sing somewhere, and that would be quite easy of getting our stuff out there. Whereas putting on a musical, especially when you're 12, 13,
Yes.
it's never going to happen. No one's going to take
So
it
you took
seriously.
the cabaret route almost to begin with. By which I mean
No,
actual
'cause
proper cabaret, not...
No,
Well, we did end up kind of doing pop writing, and we did
yeah.
lots of
Pop ballads,
mainstream,
mostly.
kind of
We were-
commercial
yeah.
music.
Right, okay.
And we did that for a good few years, and we kind of progressed. We did through some publishing houses, and we varying degrees of success with that.
Yeah.
Until it turned, we thought, well, he was about 18, I suppose, at that point. I was studying music. He was working, and he's just
working, yeah.
uni doing script writing, and we thought we'd combine it and work on the show.
I think. Go on. I was just going to say. I think the story. I think when we were together, I think I came up with a rough idea of this lawman. He gets betrayed early on, and he has to go to this new town, and he meets loads of different people. I think that was the essential. That was what was going to happen. And then we started just writing music to it and
rewriting.
Yeah, and rewriting.
How long ago was this then? I think 7 years.
It must have been 7 or 8 years ago now,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah, I think so.
But it was always the kind of thing that was on the back burner. We kind of would just
For
revisit
about,
it.
for about 4 or 5 years, it was always on the back burner.
And then about 3 years ago, I suppose, I went away for a while. I worked on cruise ships for several years.
Okay.
And that gives you a lot of free time. And so we said, look, we've got this show. If we're going to do it, let's do it seriously. So I've got time here. I will crack on with music.
Yeah, I'll
Tom
finalise
can
the
finalise
script.
And then the last 3 years, we've just blitzed it, really.
And
blitzed it. 3 years we blitzed it.
yeah, the slow blitz.
I was going to say, yeah.
In fairness, though, the Second World War lasted longer. So,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But so basically you decided that now was the time to grapple with it, and over time it's come to be.
Yeah.
So how do those stages move, if you don't mind me saying? So you said that you almost worked in parallel in the sense that you were writing some of the songs whilst working on the cruise ship, whilst you were sort of developing and fleshing out the plot. How does one stay in contact if there's the shiny blue sea in the way?
When Grant went on the cruise ships, he had he had the bulk of the script. I think the ending was in play. There was bits and pieces, but we knew where it was going. We knew each scene and everything.
Fleshed out.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest as well, at this point, the script was twice as long. Not as the Edinburgh. Well, it was.
Oh yeah,
it was twice as long as the Edinburgh, of course, but it was even longer than the one we
show,
had. Yeah, it was.
show.
It was huge, and that was without all of the music. So Grant kind of knew. We knew like what had to be written and where and when. So when Grant went over. And you only went away, like, at one point it was for, like, 9 months, and then came back.
And 6 months.
So we'd get back in contact, we'd meet
months.
at Starbucks, like, typical writers with our Macs out and blah, blah, blah. And then we kind of did
Once
that.
again, you need to be careful how you say these things. Yes.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what that looks like, but that's kind of what we did, and we'd meet up, and then Grant would go off again, and then, we'd eventually have
So it's fairly
something.
punctuated, your development process between the two of you, just because of circumstances. But
Yeah.
you felt progress was coming along, or did you get yourselves
In the last-
in wrong directions and actually say, can we pedal back from that and move off in this direction? Or
No, to be honest, I don't
yeah.
think we ever really do that. We've worked together for so long, we kind of
There's
end
synergy,
up
genuine
always
synergy.
going
Yeah.
in the right direction, or we know what we want.
Yeah, I mean, what you did. There were times when he would bored, get on the internet and stuff like that, and would be able to go, oh look, I've done this so far, and this is going to change. What do you think of this? And it was like, yep, that sounds really good, or and send the script back and forth and everything.
which,
like
of course, one can do these days. Which is
Yeah, I
only
was
sort of
gonna
say,
15 years
makes it a little
ago,
easier.
just-
I was going to
yes.
say, internet was wonderful.
It is, and the Royal Mail at the time would have been considerably slower. Right, so it obviously came to be, and you say that the full version, if you were doing this outside of the Edinburgh environment, would be about 2.5 hours. So it's a
Yes.
full 2-act
Yeah.
Yes.
musical show.
Yeah.
Yes, which is the one thing that makes it quite difficult at the moment to really
Boil it
pitch
down,
to pitch it and sell to companies, because so many few people are now taking risks on new musical
And
theatre
it's
and new
they are
writing.
big as well.
But we're hoping that's our selling point, really, because such new writing is short, 2, 3, 4, 5 handers, small set, small scale. This is slightly leaning on the big spectacle type show in theory.
I'm pleased because it's nice. It's all very well having small shows, and there'll always be small shows, and there's a place for good small shows.
Oh, definitely.
But occasionally, it's very difficult to be truly evocative of the Siege of Mafeking with 4 people or whatever. It is.
Yeah, I think we
Does
tried
present
to go.
yourself as a challenge for a writer, I tell you.
Yeah.
And for the director, I thought, yeah.
No, we tried to go traditional West End big,
Yeah.
which is very hard for two guys who have never really put on a musical before.
How would you describe your writing style in terms of the score? I mean, you both work on the music.
The
music.
Songs,
I should say.
The music is. It's definitely contemporary musical theatre, which throws a lot of people because of the era. They think
It's
more
quite American, the song I was listening to.
Yeah,
I thought but it felt very modern New York almost.
Yeah, I think a lot of people say American as well, which I'm not surprised because I think we've grown up listening to the American songbook type thing, so that's definitely going to be an influence. But definitely contemporary musical theatre and definitely a lot of jazz is thrown in.
And you're the composer?
Yes.
And you're the lyricist, or do you both tackle lyrics together?
Both.
Yeah.
And obviously you write the book.
So yes.
But that's fair. I mean, obviously it's grayer than that, but
it is. If you wanted a pinpoint, you could, but it is a lot greater. You know, you've done a lot of input into the script, and musically, sometimes I've done bits and sent it to Grant, and it's progressive.
Well, it has to be a liaison, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's fairly American sounding. Now people say that not jazz, but it's not what they expect.
No, they don't expect. People expect more legit style of show. And,
so this is illegit, is it?
Yeah, well, legit as in the kind of Roger and Hammerstein, that type of big American songbook type music.
More what they expect.
Yes.
But that's 60, 70 years out of date already.
Yes.
I mean, when you said you're fans of the American songbook, do you mean the modern American songbook?
Oh, yeah, well, I say I'm a fan. I grew up on it.
Yeah.
So you're gonna, those influences are going to come out in your writing
But
style.
modern musicals sound quite different from sort of 50s, 60s musicals, which sound quite different from 30s ones as well, don't they? Yeah, but
totally. Everything's got their own style, and their own composers have got their own mark.
So you're a contemporary writer in that sense of music?
Yes, definitely. I think we've got... I like to think the music's got a stamp on it that has. And I think when people that know us, they listen to it. If they don't know the show, we just play them the song, they can tell it's our writing. Which is... I
think from our... because from our years of writing musical ballads, pop ballads and stuff like that, I think, they can go, oh yeah, okay, I can hear that. It's your stuff.
Sounds like your style.
There's a Martin and Tower and Martin's sound.
Yes,
I don't quite know what it is, but apparently it's there.
Damn you, because that was my next question. Are you able to identify what it is that makes it idiosyncratically yours?
I couldn't.
I don't know.
In a way, that's good because it means it's just naturally there. And if you're not looking for the hooks, then it means you'll produce them naturally again in the future. Whereas you'll start pastiching yourself. If someone says you do A, B, C, and D, then you'll always think, oh dear, is this A, B, C, and D-ish enough?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we always constantly try and push into other directions.
Yes.
I think because we got to a point where we were writing so many musical ballads and pop ballads and kind of thing, and we were like, it was like, let's try and do some dance, even if it's not going to work. But let's just try and do that. Let's try and do something different.
Must have tempo.
No, I think it was that was the case.
As a writer and a composer, you want to give yourself challenges after a while.
No limits
to write something differently and write in a different style.
Yeah.
I mean, we had, we was able to do that with Bereavement on a different show that we were asked to write for, and having written for Newland for so many years, and that music is ingrained because it's still being rewritten. You're still going back to it, so it's still every day of your life, some element of Newland crops up. So you're.
But as you're travelling up to Edinburgh in 3 days after this
recording,
we'll need to stop that soon.
No, that's in place.
Yes.
That's in place.
You mean the masterwork?
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely. But it was nice just to revisit a different type of show and have to write in a different style, and just so as a composer and a writer, it's great to have that challenge.
Now you've been workshopping it over the last few years.
Year,
yes.
So has it been performed in its full 2.5-hour glory?
Yes. It was performed at the was it Giant Olive?
The Lion and Unicorn Theatre.
Very similar names.
No, it's the Giant Olive Theatre Company, isn't it?
Yes.
But I call it Giant Olive, but it's not. It's the Lion and Unicorn. And basically that was our big showcase of the show, full run of the show.
Yeah. And how did that go? Both from your points of view as well as your happy public.
From a writing point of view, it was invaluable.
Yeah.
Because we'd workshopped it and done so many read-throughs and tryouts and showcases that it got to a stage where we couldn't do any more. We had to get it in front of an audience and see what works and what didn't. And we threw a lot of material at that time. And I think we just had to wait to see an audience say, yes, we love that, we want more of that. That didn't work, let's lose that.
And you could tell, could you?
Oh, it was good. Well, our biggest fear was everyone was going to like and dislike all different things.
Yes.
But there was a general consensus.
Yeah.
People liked and disliked the same thing, so we knew we had a very clear direction of which way to go with it.
I think, I mean, we also we got a review as well, which wasn't a nice review. And the problem is, I think, is the guy came thinking they're doing a West End musical in this small little black room, and he didn't like it in the slightest. And however, I think he was overly harsh. However, going through it and looking through the points that he makes, and then we'd watch the show, I think, because we got it quite early on, and we were watching the show back, and I think we looked at it and went, we can improve that. And I think from after the first night, once we were just grateful that we had done the first night, it was looking through the show and going, that could change, and we can do that, and we can do this. And to be honest, I don't know how you felt, but I think 4 shows in, at that point, I was ready to go. Let's just stop this now. I want to just start rewriting and get the next version.
The workshop
of it
had
out.
done its task already. So how long was that?
It was only a week. It was only a week. But I mean, also because cast of 11, radio mics, band. We had a 4-piece band, costume, some sort of set,
and no production.
Yeah, this is just me and Grant doing it, and it was a massive.
Been there, done that. I used to have hair too.
God, yeah, so did I.
Well, I'm going grey, so. But,
well, boo-hoo, if I must say.
But I mean, it was so important.
Yeah.
So important.
But consequently, the script is, I think, a significant step forward and quite different in places. It's much more focused.
One character's completely gone because he's taken up time, and ultimately that could be used elsewhere. And
got to be brutal.
Yeah, it was so important, and I'm so pleased we did that.
But it's just one of the stages. I think just to get a new musical off the ground, you've just got to go through.
Yeah. So that run was when?
That was Easter.
And this year?
This year.
You had already decided that Edinburgh was looming then?
Yes, we'd
already booked. Yes. Edinburgh was already booked. We knew it was going to do it.
But we booked April pretty much off because we had Edinburgh. We thought we've got to do a run.
Yeah.
And we're so thankful because we're so glad that we were able to identify what needed the work rather than get to Edinburgh and think, God,
a bit late now.
Yeah, exactly.
But that forgive me, that timescale seems tremendously tight to me because we're talking April for Easter.
Yes.
We're talking August for the Edinburgh run. That's not a large number of months, and so there's reworking that needs to be done. And some of it fairly significant if you're losing actual characters. New songs that have to be created. And you've also got to then trim it down for an Edinburgh-sized bite. So whilst you're improving the whole show for its 2.5-hour sort of master position, then there's the further edit.
Yeah, we didn't get much sleep. We didn't get much sleep.
How are you doing that?
I think
you managed it in a way that you're both satisfied that you have been able to do it.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. I'm really proud of the script now.
Yeah, so am I actually. I mean,
although I'm sure we'll get halfway through Edinburgh and we want to even tweak it
that
more.
And I mean,
that's what it is, really, isn't it? It's rewriting continuously until you get the
a
strongest product you can.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing. I mean, we have gone from that 2.5 hour script, and we've gone down to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
We know what needs to go into that when we becomes another 2 hour show, because we know things that need a little bit more depth to it and stuff like that. However, the hour and a half script, it was the hardest thing to do was getting rid of and what's important and cutting down. I mean,
that's a very useful exercise. When you say what's important,
then
that means that everything when you come to rebuild it again after Edinburgh, you'll have to then seriously think about those bits you've taken out.
Definitely.
Definitely.
I think we already know. I think just from looking at the run, I mean, we did a run a couple of weeks ago. It was the first time about two weeks ago.
This is your Edinburgh size run, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
It was our first run with the cast. After weeks of rehearsals, we said let's go for it, and we did it. And I was so pleasantly surprised. I know it's my own stuff, but I was so pleasantly surprised.
You're not surprised, no one else will be.
I was terrified. But
we were terrified. Yeah, we were both terrified how it was going to look. However, it was just, I was so happy with the changes that we'd made and the state it was in, and I was like, this is something that I'm going to be proud of now at Edinburgh. Definitely.
Yes.
It just still strikes me as being such a tight timescale. When did you write your last song for it?
3 weeks ago.
Yeah, maybe. Might have been.
So there has been dust settlement time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing as well is you got to remember we kept, because when we knew we were doing April, we at that point had said to people we need confirmation on if you're coming to Edinburgh.
Yeah.
So we've kept 70% of the cast.
Yes. There's no way we could have done it if we lost all our cast.
Then it would have been pointless.
Yeah. But 75% of your band, aren't you? You've gone down from 4 to 3.
Yes.
We've got drums, bass, and piano. We unfortunately lost a guitarist, but
that was clumsy.
Yeah, we lost him.
Don't know where he is.
Try the bread bit. No, seriously. But that in itself isn't insurmountable. Then,
No, not really. I mean, I think a score, even just with the piano, should hold up. If it doesn't hold up with the piano, you don't have a show.
Yeah.
So any other instrument,
it's just nice.
Just builds another layer.
It's for cherry on the top of your bakewell, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, definitely.
You're not actually saying that, obviously. But only a fool would. But, and he did. So, splendid. So, how are you feeling now? You're travelling up in 4 days from this point of
Wednesday
recording.
the 1st, we travel up.
Yep.
We've got 2 more rehearsals on the Monday and the Tuesday.
Well, we're going to have
Here
an
in
open.
London.
Yes, here in
we're
London.
going to have an open dress run on the Tuesday.
That sounds faintly unhygienic.
Well, yeah,
a little bit unnecessary.
But so we're gonna run the show there in front of some people.
Yeah. Well, we've got a theatre very kindly. And so we're kind of doing a fake install because we have such little time up in Edinburgh, as I'm sure you know, to get in and out. So we're going to try and replicate it here. Throw the cast into a theatre, lights, props, mics, band, and just see
Shout
if we
at them,
can
tell
do
them
it.
to do it, and see if it
Yes.
works.
Yeah.
And because forgive me, you won't have any rehearsal time at all in your venue up in Edinburgh, will you? Which is, by the way, let's hear when and where. We might as well get that in early.
Oh, it's Surgeons Hall.
Venue 53.
Is that and is that the Grand Theatre?
Yeah,
or?
the Grand Theatre, Surgeons Hall, part of Space.
Of course, the Grand Theatre in the Surgeons' Hall might not be a theatre as we understand it. It could be an operating theatre.
Oh, right. No, it's quite a
black
big.
box it, so it could work.
Well, we went there before because last year we went to Edinburgh to scout out the area basically. And, basically, and we looked at certain theatres, what would be plausible.
Again, it's great that we did that because you can only get so much from looking online.
You have to see.
I don't understand how people can book their shows into venues without knowing what they're getting.
Yeah.
But what's your turnaround time? 20 minutes in, 20 minutes out, or is it
15.
So you've booked it for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So you've got 15 minutes, then show, then 50 call.
Yeah.
Well, good luck. I look forward to visiting you in your sanatorium afterwards. But the Surgeons Hall's a very nice venue, actually. So that's and it feels very grand too. So that's saying nice. Give it that sense of august grandeur that one so desperately needs in all things, and is becoming of a creative team. If I may say. So you're up on Wednesday, and you're dragging your cast with you. I think one of you's going up in a van with people.
I'm going up in a van with lots of props and set and suitcases and instruments, and I'm driving. So that's going to take me twice as long as you guys in cars, probably. And then there's a bunch of people going in cars, and there's a few people flying over, I think, as well.
Yes.
Or train. Yeah.
Good.
And then Tuesday's our tech. We do have a tech in the theatre for 3 hours.
So 3 hours. So it's not a chance to run anything.
No.
It's just
an extra hour on
levels.
your normal show, so it's very limited, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just to get the set in.
How often are you on?
Well, on every night, bar Sundays at 8:15.
At the Surgeons Hall.
At the Surgeons Hall, yeah.
Venue 53.
That's the one, yeah.
Splendid. It bears reiterating.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah. Please come see.
So, do you have ambitions for Newland after Edinburgh?
Well, we're taking it up to Edinburgh really to see
if it's got legs.
Yeah, if anybody is interested in it, or if it can go somewhere after that. That is the breeding ground at the moment for any new writing, really.
Yeah. I agree.
And a lot of
Fringe is where it's at.
Yeah, and a lot of new shows are getting recognised and finding success on the back of appearing in Edinburgh.
Yes.
So we're not having suddenly delusions of it's suddenly going to be transferred anywhere.
But it is
huge.
a path. But
if maybe just a small production team sees anything in it and will take it on to a small few theatres,
I think
that's the next step.
That's the thing. It's just a great opportunity for a lot of people, and hopefully a lot of important people that have the power to go, let's put that on somewhere. I mean, that's ideally what we want. We just want the show to get around and be seen by a lot of people.
Out there,
basically, yeah. So I think Edinburgh's a great place for that to happen.
Yeah.
Personal question now for you both. Different answers probably. What do you think you've learned, or what will you take with you from this production?
What will I take with me?
Or what can you take
from
with
the
you
Edinburgh production?
Well, let's put it this way: from writing the piece, let's ask the question as of today. What has surprised you? What bit of luggage is going to emotionally is going to hang around for you?
I don't know. I think the process itself. I mean, I've MD'd many years. It's what I do. It's actually my professional job. But doing your own thing and having to be so hands-on, there's still new stuff that crops up, and I'm thinking I've never had to deal with that before, and new challenges that you've got to face, and still, it's emotionally challenging.
Yes. Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have time to take stock as well either. And you?
Yeah, I think one, definitely the process of it all. I mean, we knew we were going to have to do lots of rewrites. We knew we had to do, but it's just how valuable all of that is. Learning what didn't work, why didn't it work, and just evaluating your script over and over again. I mean, the amount of times we've spoke about our script, gone through it, is countless, and it's so important.
And I think it's
feedback.
something that doesn't happen enough.
People don't
work.
filter. No, I agree.
No, and I think
even
a lot
on
of
television, you see things where you think that's 2 drafts short of a final version.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I think that's been really.
But we're
valuable.
not precious about the material, and I think
You can't be.
no. But I think some shows and some writers are, and you see things professionally put on around London.
They're still vanity projects.
Yeah.
I think growing up, acting and doing the music that we've done, I think we've grown a bit. Not hard, but we're
Mature,
not
advanced,
even mature. No, just
aged,
able.
decrepit. What are you going for?
What's that word? No, just able to take on criticism,
Yes.
and being able to constructively use that. And I think that's just from growing up, from how we are with people and asking honest opinions of people.
You sound both very sound on. What a dreadful sentence that was. You both seem very sound on that. You both have this sensible, mature approach, which to me. You're talking quite dispassionately about your work, but with enthusiasm, which is almost the best combination. Because there are people, I've interviewed many people who are truly enthusiastic, which is lovely, but they're also protective to the point it's probably damaging their work and they can't see it.
Yeah.
And then there are people who can never let go.
Yeah.
So there will come a point when you have to stop Newland and go on to your next piece. Because I've known people sort of mollycoddle their baby, as it were, and for years and years and years, rewriting and rewriting it. It's not going to get anywhere, and you start obsessing, and they lose all perspective.
Yeah.
Like a good Egyptian drawing. So.
I'm sure there's probably come a point when we say we've got the piece to the strongest that we feel that we can do it, but I don't think we're there yet.
No, I don't, and also, we're doing Newland. We've got our other projects.
Yes.
Ready in and slowly
Even
doing
Newland.
things.
Yes.
Super Newland. So we've got other things that I think once, hopefully, if Newland gets taken off our hands a little bit and it gets, a production team takes it on, we can start fully getting on with other stuff as well.
But it's important, isn't it, to develop a portfolio, just professionally, if you're on longer term.
I think so, yeah. I think it's also a learning experience as well. We've 9 years, 7
you
years with
take
Newland.
So much of what we've done here into another project.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to tackle another project with all that experience.
Yes, because those experiences will actually act as not shortcuts, but I suppose it will be shortcuts because you won't have to relearn it. Yes,
we're so much more what works script-wise, what musicals have to have, what they shouldn't have. And we already had a fair bit of knowledge about that, having been in the industry for a while.
Yeah.
But until you do it and you get it out there, you just don't know.
It's very interesting and, may I say, very pleasing to meet a couple of creators, songwriters, composers, show people who, you see, I struggle for a particular adjective
Love it.
Or noun, who are both aware and supportive of their own new work, but at the same time are learning what they need to learn for a career. Because some people can be, as I say, it goes no further than the current production, and I'm not getting that at all. Which I'm now going to have to eat my words when I say, without giving me any details, what milestones you have next along the line. What is Newland 2?
What is Newland 2?
Oh, you mean like as in newest shows or?
You must be bubbling up, presumably.
We've got a few things. There's one which we don't really have a title for, which is
difficult to describe that one then.
Yeah, it is. I think at one point it was called Love in London, which is a ridiculous title, and then there was Pinch Punch.
I'm sure Richard Curtis will steal it.
And yeah, but it's kind of it's got
It depends kind of really, because this Newland is. It's a mainstream commercial show, but we've tried to keep a strong artistic vibe running through it. Yep. And I think it's always finding that balance. It gives shows are either mainstream, lowest common denominator, or highbrow type of show. It's finding that middle ground, I think. And I think Newland, we've tried to keep it accessible, but with a strong artistic thing running through it, so that it can appeal to as wide an audience as possible, but like serious musical theatre audience and students and people with appreciation can latch onto it.
I think actually going back to your earlier point as well on us not being not precious about it, but just talking dispassionately and how I think you do have to find the middle ground between it's art and it is a work of art, but it's also a piece of entertainment. And ultimately, I want people to go and have a great time and enjoy a good piece of art, but entertain. And I think there's too many people that get very precious about, oh, it's a piece of art and it means this, people want to go to the theatre to have a good time, but it doesn't have to be a rubbish good time. If that makes sense, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be
absolute sense. No, I absolutely believe in intelligent things also being enjoyable.
But then I think if you look at a lot of what's in the West End, a lot of this art is pure mainstream, frivolous.
I direct you to Candor and Ebb and their song "It's a Business" from Curtains. Well, Grant and Tom, thank you so much for talking about Newland, and I'm going to be coming to see it in Edinburgh, so I hope perhaps to have another chance to see you again and discuss it further. But, firstly, let me wish you a great success. I hope, and I'm sure it shall be. Remind us again how people can see it.
It's at Surgeons Hall, venue 53, the Space venue on Nicholson Street at 8:15 every day of the week.
Apart from Sundays.
And people can see that at Ed Fringe, which is
Ed Fringe or the Space website.
Yeah, or you could go to, if you search Newland Musical on Facebook, you'll find our page with lots of information and pictures and stuff.
And you might choose to like it.
Yeah.
Become our friend.
So, lovely to speak to you both. Thank you very much indeed. And you
Thank
very
you.
kindly said that we can play a song from Newland. So, in a way, this is sort of a broadcasting premiere, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, we're delighted. Thank you very much. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to hear.
Well, this is effectively the 11th hour ballad from the show.
Well, it's a long show then, isn't it?
The title track is I Thought I Knew Him. It's sung by our lead heroine, Rose, who is distraught and coming to terms with not being able to be with the man that she loves.
Grant and Tom, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you
Cheers,
very much.
thanks.
There are so many things that I don't understand. How could he look in my eyes and say I am all a man ever needs? Say I love you, and then say goodbye. We had a path, we had a plan. I thought together we could stand anything life would throw away. But he went and changed his mind, leaving us behind. I thought I knew him so well. He changed his clothes, his talk and his style. He's a stranger I don't recognize. Well, I played my part and truly confess I'll take it back, apologize. He thinks he's better off, convinced that it is wrong to repair a dream and see it through. We can work it out, it's not that hard to do. I thought I knew him so well. I thought I knew him better than himself.
Well, that was Grant and Tom, and it was really nice speaking to them. It turns out we'd all been at the Edinburgh Fringe last year, and we had a good old reminisce about what was brilliant and what was perhaps less brilliant. A very interesting conversation. I only wish I'd recorded it. If you want to find out more about Newland the musical, and I hope that you will, there are 2 places to go to. Facebook.com, which, as you know, is a well-known social networking internet site. So that's facebook.com/Newland Musical. Or you could go to Twitter.com, a similarly well-known social networking internet site. That's Twitter.com/Newland Musical. And of course you can find out more on Ed Fringe, the all-encompassing search engine for the shows on at this year's Edinburgh Fringe. Don't forget, go to YouTube and you can hear music from both Bereavement and Newland and see a little bit of some of the workshops for both those shows. They both look fabulous to me, and I am definitely going. Well, what's the third musical today? Well, it's a kind of cabaret musical, and it features someone that we all know very well here on Musical Talk, David Kingsmill. So what's it about? Well, do you know, I don't think I'm going to tell you. Let's hear the opening theme for this new show.
There comes a time, once every few decades, when the world comes to be in need of a new kind of superhero. Mr. Millennium is not it. He does not possess super strength. He does not know Kung Fu. He even had his driving license taken away. Nevertheless, he uses his unique power to tune into radio, to fight injustice wherever and whenever he can, if he can get there in time.
Well, David.
Hello.
Nice to speak to you again.
And you?
Now, we met because of Edinburgh 2011.
Indeed.
And your great success, Hitler the Musical.
Yes.
You're back again for 2012
Yes.
with another, I'm going to say, offbeat, curious musical.
Very much so.
Come on, give us a title.
It's called Mr Millennium, issue number 1. If you're looking it up incidentally on the Fringe website, you need to look up number is NO full stop. Although it should be a hash, but apparently the Edinburgh system doesn't.
If you look up the word millennium,
if you look up Mr Millennium, it's vibrant yellow and purple, and it's the first thing that comes up, so you won't have any problem finding it.
And you're classified as cabaret rather than musical, but that's one of the problems with the Edinburgh Fringe classification system, because there are so many shows that can only pick one term when they really
Absolutely. Well, you can pick 3 because you pick your actual classification as to which section of the book you go in or which section of the programme you go in, and then your 2 subgenres. But I really think that theatre being what it is,
yes,
virtually every single show slips through the gaps and you end up having to pigeonhole yourself. So yes, I think I'm down as cabaret and then comedy and musical theatre, but I'm not. Well, yes, it's only half true. It's not a full comedy. It's got some serious moments.
But anyone listening will immediately say, hang on a minute, Mr Millennium number 1?
Yes.
But that can only mean that it's the conceit must be, therefore, a comic book of some variety. That's what it says, isn't it?
Kind of, yes.
Absolutely.
It's quite deliberately, the character is not a comic book character, but he is a superhero. He is a superhero in our everyday world. And the conceit behind the show, without giving too much away, is that his power is extremely limited. It's internal, so he can't pick up a car, he can't fly. In actual fact, he sings about wanting to fly at one point. He can't show off in any way, and nobody believes he's a superhero, and therefore they spend most of their time ridiculing him for running around in a brightly coloured costume. Whereas in actual fact, he does have a power, but it's limited so much that he can't be effective enough to become famous.
So let's start at the beginning. I can think of no better place. So when did you decide, first of all, that you were going to come back to Edinburgh in 2012? And then what were your thought patterns?
I decided I was going to come back in Edinburgh 2012 about halfway through Edinburgh 2011, I think.
Splendid. When by which time Hitler was already a bona fide blue chip hit?
Yes. and I didn't know what I was going to come back with. Obviously, my own
Broken
cabaret.
arm.
Well, yeah, quite. My own cabaret was rather more limited success. Although
I enjoyed it.
those people who came to see it, yes, on the whole, I got some excellent feedback.
Got to meet your rubber ducky.
Indeed, yes. I'm trying to work out how to fit him into Mr Millennium, and it's really, really hard.
That sounds like an episode of Casualty.
I fear you might be right if I actually do it. I think it will just derail the whole thing, but I'm going to have a go. I came up with the idea towards the end of last year that actually the best thing for me to do was a military drama based on the action that my grandfather took part in the Second World War.
How interesting.
And I spent something like 7 or 8 months writing this. I've co-written a script with a director friend of mine, which I think is a really strong script. It's not quite finished, but it's a very strong script. And circumstances beyond my control forced me to cancel that show. And
but it's still in drawing book stage, so it's there.
It will
for another
happen
time.
at some point in time, yes. But for now, my it's irony actually, having done a World War II related show after a fashion, and a cabaret last year. I started on a World War II show, and I'm now doing a cabaret. But
well,
yes, when it collapsed, I couldn't really work out what to do next, and it was my fiancée actually gave me the idea. She said, "Why don't you do another cabaret?" And it's the logical thing because I was contracted into my venue, I was contracted into my flat in Edinburgh. But more
and
to
you know you can do it because you did it before.
Yes, although I've got much less time than I did last year. But more to the point, I wanted to do it because I love Edinburgh. It's an extraordinary experience, and I wanted to make sure I went up. And our listeners probably don't know actually that I'm disappearing off to Canada as of September of this year.
So
it's also
your swan song, perhaps.
It is my swan song, yes, because I'm only in London for a week after Edinburgh finishes, so I'm not actually going to be here long enough to perform anything else. So this will be my last performance here for quite some time, I would imagine, barring some miraculous rise to fame. And so I wanted to make sure I did it. And about 4 days, my standard description of what happened is that Mr Millennium tripped down a flight of stairs and landed in my head. Which he really just did. Over the past few years, I've been getting into the Marvel films. I was never a comic addict. I think the only comics I ever read were Mighty Max, they were based on a little game of figures that you could collect as a child. I never really read any of the Marvel or DC comics. The Beano, maybe, the Fun Day Times, whatever it was. But I've been developing an obsession with particularly the Marvel universe and the concept of superheroes. And all of a sudden I thought, well, what would happen if you had a bit of a failure as a superhero? And so my original idea was to come up with a superhero who was just a complete klutz and couldn't do anything right. And over time that evolved into this idea of actually, well, he is a failure, but he's not a failure by the fact that he's useless. He's a failure by the fact that his power doesn't give him the power of your Spider-Mans, your Batmans, or whatever, and he is very, very limited. So he tries to help and really can't a lot of the time.
So the intention is excellent.
The intention is superb. He really wants to do good and to help people, but he has now spent a very long time being ridiculed, being prank called so that he can be ridiculed, and essentially expending an awful lot of effort with very little in the way of positive comeback. But he saved one man who had fallen down a manhole, a workman who was on his lunch break, or all of his friends had gone on lunch and he'd fallen down a manhole and injured himself. And he saved that one man who was really, really appreciative. And because he knows he saved that one man, he keeps going and keeps trying to help, even though he doesn't have much success.
I like the intent. I think that's very. Did you ever see a film a few years ago called Mystery Men? I think it was called.
I saw it about a month and a half ago.
Oh right. I think one of the conceits I liked in that, there was one superhero who could do his stuff as long as nobody was looking at him.
Yes, the Invisible Boy.
He could never be seen. Yes, he was invisible if no one looked at him.
Yes, which I thought was brilliant.
Yes, a fantastic.
No, I went into HMV a while ago and said I want some spoof superhero films just for the sake of getting myself into the mood, because obviously I've been into, particularly recently, having sent most of my DVD collection to Canada and expecting to do a military show, the only superhero films I actually kept were the Batman ones, which are very dark, so I wanted something a bit lighter. And I picked up Mystery
Unless you
Man.
watched the original 60s version.
This is true, yes, but I prefer to follow things that are true to the canon of what they're actually representing.
I say junk it all and make me laugh, but there we are. That's
To be fair,
that's where you and I are different.
I used to watch the 60s version when I was young. It's not my taste now. But yeah, and I did watch Mystery Men, and actually, yes, I think there's a lot of humour in that. I don't think I've taken anything directly from it in terms of inspiration, but it certainly put me in the mood.
Yes. So you had to finish with the show that you were hoping to do. So when did this moment of epiphany happen? When did he trip down the steps in your mind?
In the first week of June.
Of this year?
Of this year.
Crikey. Now
so I am working to a very, very restricted timeline at the moment.
And yet you've done wonderful things already, because there's a logo, you're in, I found you on the Ed Fringe website.
Yes.
I know you've been working like a Trojan to get songs written and recorded.
At time of speaking, I am about half a song away from having all the music finished.
Really? So it's within grasping distance?
Absolutely. I've got 7 songs plus his theme tune.
So here's a question then. So you start at the beginning of June, you've got everything booked, so you know you're committed, you've got an idea but as yet undeveloped. What then? I mean,
blind panic for about a week.
But are you one of these composers? People talk about in musical theatre, they go to a tryout, they have to dump a song and come up with an award-winning song within 24 hours, and some people really thrive on that. Whereas there's the alternative theory, which I've also heard, but if you've written a song in 24 hours, it's not going to be very good.
Well, actually, I think I'm a combination of the two. I'm not saying that I'm writing hit songs by any means, but I think I'm writing songs. I believe I'm writing songs that are good, and the people I played them to have laughed or felt sad or whatever they're supposed to feel, with one notable exception, which is the one I haven't finished yet. And it's absolutely driving me up the wall, because I know what I want it to be about, I know the style I want it to be in, and I've written a chorus and a bridge for it, and the verses just aren't coming. And it's absolutely just making me insane.
And are you doing your own lyrics?
I'm doing, well, for the most part. I have 2 collaborators in this show this time, which is I have collaborated with a friend of mine mostly on the lyrics and with a tiny bit of the music of one song. And I have also borrowed a song wholesale from James Mikolos, who we spoke to last year.
Who wrote the very excellent Apply Within.
Indeed. Because I saw a review of his songs he did called Up and Away at the Charing Cross or New Players or whatever it was called at the time. And it just fits this show too perfectly not to be included. And so I sent him a very begging email saying, do you mind if I use this? And he said, that's absolutely fine. So I've had 1 song provided to me wholesale, and I've had 1 song where I've only done half the work. I've also taken 2 songs from my cabaret last year, which fit the bill.
Yep.
And the other 3 are my own, and the theme tune are my compositions, and lyrics are all mine, yes.
But how did you create the story? Because you obviously have an idea about how Mr Millennium came to be and his attitude to the world, but you've got to fill an auditorium for presumably, 55 minutes to an hour?
45 minutes, I've said. The venue this year, my hour slot includes my get in and get out, so I have to be quite prompt, whereas last year I had 10 minutes either side to work.
You're going to have to roll out a piano and a duck, so it was all right.
Well, exactly. No, this year, it's nothing on stage that I can't carry on mid-show. I wanted to keep, for a start, he's going to be quite a dynamic character, and I wanted him to be able to move around quite freely. For second, when you're actually telling, where last year my conceit could involve me sitting down and playing songs because the question was, what is it like if life were a musical? Here, the story doesn't involve a piano. Diegetic music would look silly, and it would actually interrupt the show if I sat down at the piano every time I wanted to play. So
it's pre-recorded then?
I am pre-recording the music, yes.
Which puts an emphasis on you as the performer as well, then, to make sure you don't muff up your own song.
It most certainly does.
Yeah.
And I'm going to rehearse the living daylights out of it with the recordings to make sure that my timing's right.
So, last year, your cabaret, the one you've just described, in fact, it wasn't so much an arc, it was an exploration.
Yes.
You're being quite enigmatic for understandable reasons about Mr Millennium and his skills and what he might be able to do or not. So is this also an exploration, or is there a narrative arc?
It's an exploration. I mean, basically what happens is that he has been prank called again. And somebody has prank called him and said, we need help, and he charges into the theatre and realises there's nobody in there that actually needs saving at all. He's been set up so that everyone can have a good old laugh at him. And he gets in and he realises that there's an audience sitting there, and he says, well, you know what? You think you know what it's like to be a superhero. There's all these films where everything's glitz and glamour and the hero always gets the girl. Well, this is what it's really like. And it's an exploration in the sense of it's what is it like to be a superhero, but it is also telling his story. So the first song of the show is actually a retrospective. It's what he was thinking of life before he became empowered. And the last song of the show is what he's going to move on to do after he leaves the theatre. So there is a transition, there is a story behind the character, but it's overlaid with, well, this is me, and what would it be like if I did this?
So his anecdotes, his exploration of himself,
absolutely.
His discovery of himself in some sense, both historically and in the future.
Well, he takes the opportunity of the fact that he's got a captive audience basically to be slightly conceited and say, this is me. It's not an autobiography by any means, but it's his opportunity to put himself out there and say, well, look, I'm a person too. Just because I can do something you can't do doesn't mean that I can stand here and take the fact that everybody laughs at me.
Now let's just talk about one or two of the trappings of the piece, because you very kindly showed me a photograph just before we started recording.
Yes, which nobody else other than my fiancée is ever going to get to see.
I feel very flattered there. Well, let's just say a striking young man in a superhero costume.
Yes, made of yellow and purple lycra.
Now, which lucky soul is going to be wearing this?
That would be me.
And you're going to be wearing it both on stage and presumably up and down the Royal Mile, aren't you?
Yes, not for the entire day.
No.
But I will
clean periodically.
Yes, quite. But I will probably spend a good couple of hours a day at various points running up and down the mile, making a spectacle of myself.
Very good.
Which I could probably do without the costume, but the costume just
That's a different kind of spectacle again.
Well, this is true.
Right. Absolutely. So you have your superhero costume.
Well, I will have it.
Yes, you have a logo.
It's a Tuesday at the moment, and I am getting it on Friday morning, which I am inordinately excited about. I was having this costume pinned to me. It's being tailor-made for me by a lovely costume tailor called Sally Ann Dixie, who, whilst has done lots of stage and screen work, she actually developed the leather work for Red Skull and Captain America.
Oh, right,
so
okay.
she has actually got a bit of superhero legacy, if you like. But I think she's having quite a lot of fun actually designing this. But it's a proper tailor-made costume being made for me, and I was there yesterday so that's Monday, having bits and pieces of lycra pinned to me and a cape pinned to my shoulders and a cowl stuck over my head, and childhood geek was just leaching out of me all over the place. It was just so much fun having this, because much as I've never been into the superhero canon, I think there's a part of everybody who wants to be able to do something that a superhero can do.
Also, as a performer, surely dressing up can't be a bad thing.
Well, absolutely. But I watched. I was saying to you just before we started, I saw the new Spider-Man film, and much as I think so much of it. There's a couple of it's in 3D. Then there's a couple of wonderful sequences where you actually see him swinging through the city from first-person perspective, and you see his hand just coming out under the camera, and you really feel for a moment like you could be him. And I was just sitting there in the theatre, just going, yes!
But I'm afraid I look at the old world of Kenny Everett. There's a big TV comic in the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
There was a live-action Spider-Man series in America at the time, and Kenny Everett spoofed it, and he made the very good point. There's a famous sketch where he's dressed head to toe in the Spider-Man costume.
Yeah.
He desperately needs to pop to the lavatory, so he runs and stands in front of the urinal, and then suddenly realises, of course, that there's no fly. And indeed, there's no way out of the costume very easily.
Is absolute, and that's one of the things I'm going to lampoon in the course of the... because it's absolutely true. Superhero costume, there's going to be an entire monologue and possibly a bit of a song devoted to superhero costume.
And how would you put one on? I mean, if I was Spider-Man and I needed to change into my costume quickly,
well,
I can't see how
the usual conceit is that they wear it underneath their regular garb. So Superman
that
obviously...
does make going to the lavatory awkward.
Yes. And that's one thing that's actually, as far as I can tell, has only been... I think it might have been addressed in one of the spoof films. I can't quite remember whether it was there or not. But I mean, if you've got
zip at the front?
Yeah, quite. But if you do have a skin tight lycra spandex, whatever it happens to be, costume on, it is going to make life difficult. And you never see there's no example of a superhero I can think of straight off the top of my head who wears a quote-unquote costume as opposed to fancy gear, who actually has an easily removable sort of lower half, if you like. It's all, they're bolted into them or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely, you're quite right. which stooping over to do a shoelace up might be awkward as well. But there we are. So there's an interesting.
It pinches, shall we say?
Yeah. I imagine. You don't want to bend over too quickly either.
No, quite. So yes, I have a costume too.
So you have a costume.
Yeah.
You have a fantastic idea for a program.
Yes, which I am very lucky, I think, that I found exactly the right person in my mind to realise this for me, which was obviously as part of developing the character, actually he came into my head unpowered. He came in as just, I want a superhero who's a bit useless. I then developed his power, and I then obviously had to work back and work out, okay, how did he get this power? Because you need to know your characters. And I've developed his backstory. And I wrote it out as a piece of prose, which came to about 3.5 pages of A4, and I thought, well, hang on a minute, I haven't made this too long, I could do something with this, and I've actually had it drawn into issue number 0, which is his origin story drawn out as a comic.
I.e., it's the story before the one we get to see, which is issue number 1.
Absolutely. And I was just wandering around the internet looking at graphic designers, and I came across a website which was, I think, supposed to be an artist's link, but I managed to find the chap on LinkedIn as well. Got his email address and sent him an email and said, look, I've got this project, do you fancy having a go? And he has produced this absolutely wonderful 11-page comic, which I've got. So I'm now thinking of doing a 20-page programme, 11 pages of which are going to be this comic.
Oh, fantastic. I'll buy 2 copies.
Well, I don't know whether this story is ever going to go anywhere. I'm developing other characters for the universe, although the show only contains the one. But I'm probably going to print a few. I might use in a press pack or something. So there will be a few copies in existence that are standalone. But other than the programme, I don't suppose this will be printed again. Oh. So it's a collector's item.
So you must come and see it.
Absolutely.
So, well, let us get on to the hardcore business of it all then. Where? Because you really are displaying your own superpowers by, I believe you're doing every day, aren't you, of the Fringe?
Not quite. No, I'm not doing Sundays.
Right.
I backed out of... I thought it was originally to give my cast a rest doing the military thing, but actually I think I'd need one anyway doing this. So I'm doing every day except Sunday. That starts on the 3rd of August, which is the Friday.
Which is the very first day of the Fringe.
Which is the very first day of the Fringe. And I go through to the 25th, so I'm not doing
Which is the very last day of your life.
Yeah, probably. So I'm not doing the 27th, which is the last day of the Fringe.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing any of the Sundays. But there are every other day, and it's on at 6:10 for the first 2.5 weeks. And then on the last week, starting on the 20th, it moves to 7:10.
Oh, right, okay.
And it's 45 minutes long.
And
it's on at the Spaces at Surgeons Hall, which I think is venue number 53, if memory serves. And the ticket prices are extraordinarily reasonable.
Of course.
They range from £5 to £7, depending on whether you're a concession and what day of the week it is. But they're all delineated on the website and on various posters and things that will be going up around the Fringe.
Well, David, this sounds intriguing. If nothing else, to see you in purple and yellow, which are difficult colours to pull off at the best of time. But when one's wearing them in lycra, then best of.
Well, I wanted to go for something that looked a little bit naff, but wasn't so painful that you couldn't watch it for 45 minutes.
Yes.
And obviously, purple and yellow, well, purple and gold would be imperial colours.
Yes, of course.
But it's not all prime. Because obviously, as soon as you go red, yellow, blue, everyone goes Superman in their head.
Oh, I suppose so, yes.
And so I wanted to try and steer away from prime colours. I think it works.
Yes.
It's a bit naff, but at the same time, the costume... I mean, that being the fact that it's not great superhero costume fare, but the actual costume itself will not be naff.
Yeah.
Being made by a very, very skilled costume tailor. So I don't want to give the wrong impression, but representing someone who's pieced something together with what he can find, and it doesn't really look that great.
So I'm looking forward to seeing it and you up there. And
Likewise.
Of course, we'll have the pleasure of chatting to you and seeing the shows that we've seen.
Indeed, I look forward
Edinburgh.
to it.
Splendid. Musical talk. Well, that was David Kingsmill there, talking to me about his, well, I was going to say lycra fetish, but we have to see if that's really going to be carried off in the streets of Edinburgh. I shall report back. But that sounds a jolly show as well. I do hope you'll get along to see that. Go along and see it at Ed Fringe if you want to book tickets. But don't forget, Edinburgh is not the only place where you can see brand new musicals. In London in September, on the 7th and 8th, you can see at the Arcola Theatre in London E8 a musical called 13 Days by Alexander Bermange. It celebrates the 50th anniversary of the Cuban Missile Crisis. If you don't know what that is, ask your parents. In October 1962, President Kennedy engineered a bit of a political standoff with the Soviet Union about nuclear missiles which were based on the island of Cuba, which of course, as we all know, is extremely close to America. And it's generally thought that those 13 days of the Cuban Missile Crisis really marked the point at which the human race took itself closest to being obliterated. And this musical, 13 Days, looks at the lives of 3 lovers, 3 leaders and 3 nations during that period. And interestingly, the score fuses Western, Eastern and Latin musical styles. And that show sounds fabulous. Do go along and see it. It's directed by Matthew Gould, and the set and lighting is by Ben M. Rogers, and the costumes by Jean Grey. I hope those names mean something to you, but more importantly, they're the people behind the very, very excellent Mystery of Edwin Drood revival, which we saw in the West End just recently. And that in itself seems to me a tremendously good pedigree, suggesting that this is going to be a musical well worth seeing. Go along to www.Arcola Theatre, and that's the French and therefore British spelling, ARCOLATHEATRE.com, for details on going to see that. And it's on the 7th and 8th of September. 13 Days by Alexander Bermange. Well, that's it for this episode of Musical Talk. I hope it's whetted your appetite for all the musical offerings that the Edinburgh Fringe has to offer. Don't forget, in a few weeks' time, you'll be hearing more from what happened up there from me and David Kingsmill, and goodness knows who else that we get to interview. But until then, I hope you enjoy Musical Talk over the summer, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. If you see me in Edinburgh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, do come up and say hello, and perhaps prove your loyalty to me by giving me money. I shan't be offended at all. Goodbye. This episode of Musical Talk was presented and produced by Thos Ribbits. Copyright Musical Talk, except for the music where the copyright remains with the creatives. Now for some musical out-talks. Oh yes.
Yeah, because it came from quite a kind of personal experience, I suppose. It was something we had to be...
Sorry.
Do you know the queue?
It's
on top of the Festival.
I'm afraid I absolutely don't, but I suspect it might be. There's a little white jutting out building which you can see from out in the street up there, but whether that's the way to get to it, I couldn't tell you, I'm afraid. Frankly, sorry. I thought he was going to recognise one of them, see.
Oh.
You did that kind of...
I don't know about that.
All he wanted was directions to food. Right, sorry, carrying on again, you were about to say.
I don't know what...
Just to sell it, I guess, a bit more.
Also, question, when's it running? Is it the whole run? Is it the whole period?
Yeah, 1st to the 27th.
Yeah, right. Jolly good. Well done. You'll be knackered. Your fingers will have to go into warm water every night.
I'll be all right. I did it last year. It was fine.
It looks knackering, so you play...
Oh, it's all right. I can do it. It's all right.
Because the piano is the music.
Yeah.
All of it, you know.
I mustn't get ill. That's the
yeah,
secret.
Well, if you do,
all
you
in
have to
his
send
head.
your hands in. Yeah. Oh, you haven't written it down?
It is written down, yes.
Okay, but... Okay.
It will be written down.
It will be written down.
Maybe available to buy. No.
Yeah.
Musical Talk is about talking. It really is. So it's not a structured, questioned interview.
Yeah.
It's going to be, let's see where we start. Let's have a chat about where it takes us. And it could take us, Lord knows, anywhere, really. But if halfway through you suddenly discover that you've libelled everyone you've ever met,
that's my worry.
Yeah,
right?
Then do say, do you mind if you don't use that? Because I'll be glad to cut that out.
Yeah.
You know, as I say to everybody, this is not an expose. I'm not working for Panorama.
Okay, my name's Grant. I've travelled down here from Southgate today on the Northern Line. Went by the Piccadilly Line. It was hot.
This is entertaining. And you as well, please?
My name's Thomas Heron Towers. It's Heron because it's Spanish. My dad's Spanish. My mum's English. Met them club in Ibiza. Both couldn't speak.
Sorry, you met them in a club?
Yes, I met them in a... Yeah, and I was like, do you want to be mum and dad?
Yeah. Actually, having said that was all right, I'm going to ask you both to come in just a little bit, so forgive me. You work together, so you... Unless you're Gilbert and Sullivan, you should still be talking. Marvellous. Thank you. That's fine. So, right, okay, next question then. I'm going to ask you, and forgive me, it follows very closely on from that last one, one each. one adjective, please, to describe the tone as far as you see it. Just so we can pitch it. I'll cut out the gap so you both sound immediately intelligent and sharp. You can have a different one each if you want.
Yes.
And then put a hyphen between the two.
That's.
So, are you Tom and Grant or Grant and Tom?
We kind of. It doesn't. I don't think that matters either way. I mean, we go by Martin and Towers, I think.
Yeah, I think as a writing team, that's kind of how people.
Yeah, we've stuck on that one. Yeah.
I used to write with. Only in our case, we used to write pantomimes, but the conceit we did was on the songs we would credit my friend's surname, then my surname, and then on the book it would be my surname and his surname.
We kind of did that, didn't we?
Did we?
Well, no, okay. Well, without him knowing, no. On the book, I think my name would come first, and then your name second, and then on the music it would be the other way around mostly.
Are you both happy with that?
Yeah, I think so. That's fine.
Lovely.